I have run 61 miles in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro Low. It has my half marathon PR of a 1:20:35 back in January at the Austin International Half, and it is without a doubt my favorite classic super shoe of the year. And before you come at me in the comments, let me take this time to sit down into the shot and tell you I am not going to be comparing the Pro Low to a different type of super shoe, something that I'm calling F1 racers. Incredibly light, incredibly expensive. The Adidas Evo Pro 1, the Puma Faststar Nitro Elite V3, the Asics Ray, or whatever it's called. I'm just comparing it to your everyday classic super shoe offerings from most brands. And now for a moment of clarity. I'm gonna tell you how this video is gonna go. I'm gonna put it into chapters. You can hop around however you see fit because God gave us free will and you use it however you see fit. So I'm gonna talk about the specs of the shoe. Then I'm gonna talk about what it feels like to run in the shoe underfoot. Then I'm gonna compare it, the Pro Low, to the Wave Rebellion Pro 3. And then I'm gonna compare the Pro Low to the competition. Alrighty guys, whoa, yeah, what we talk about when we talk about running specs. Let's do this thing. The Pro Low, 39.5 millimeters in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for 4.5 millimeter drop. Now the Pro Low means low as in low to the ground, and low to the ground means 0.5 millimeter underneath the World Athletic Standards. But why? Why though? Well, because the Wave Rebellion Pro 3, which I'm holding here, is 60 millimeters of foam, or 61 or something, in the middle of the forefoot. So low just means lower than that. Now, the foam in the midsole is still the same juicy Mizuno Energy XP. It's a bouncy number, and we're gonna talk about that here in just a little bit. The weight, ironically, they're the same. In my US men's size 9, it comes in at 7.7 ounces, and I don't speak in grams, but I can, and it's 217 grams. All right, now I'm gonna need everybody at home here to pull out your bingo card. Toe cap, if anybody has toe cap, mark your bingo card because we're gonna talk about the toe cap in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro Low. For the upper, we're gonna talk about the upper fit. I did not personally have an issue with it, but I can see where people may have an issue with it, and I want to unpack it. Upper material, I don't know the name of it, and it doesn't ever matter to me if someone says jacquard mesh, mono mesh, engineered mesh, it's all the same. Is there stretch? That's what I really want to know. And there is not much stretch here, like the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. There's some stretch in that shoe, not so much here. It's plenty breathable enough as a super shoe, but there is the toe cap. Now, you'll see this in a lot of shoes where around the cap of the shoe, there's some reinforced material. And I think that sort of boxes out the upper and allows room in the toe box for your feet. However, if you don't get the right size, your feet can get kind of crammed in there, and race day shoes tend to be a little bit tighter. To compound matters, the Wave Rebellion Pro series, both in the 2 and the 3, are meant for more like mid or forefoot. They make you feel like you're going down a hill, and it can, if you're not really locked down in the shoe, it can cram your big toe. It can make your feet slam up against the toe cap and be uncomfortable, which is why in the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 and the 3, I went with the men's US size 9.5 instead of a 9. But in the Pro Low, I actually went true to size and I got a US men's size 9, which means it's a very tight fit. But because the Pro Low is more even, I'm not pushing in my feet, my toes, my big toe is not pushing into the cap as much. Also, the upper, while we're at it, the tongue is very thin and it's not very long. What it gives, it's giving Evo SL. And so as such, and there's not a lot of padding in the tongue, it's very light. Whenever I lace up the shoe, I feel like I'm just lacing on top of my arches. And so it can create a little bit of lace bite. Area of opportunity, as they say in the business, Mizuno. Now let's talk about the good stuff. Okay, so what is it like to run in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro Low, you ask? But you don't ask, but I ask for you because I'm the one making this video. Well, I say super shoe of the year, so inevitably someone's gonna be in the comments giving me a lot of grief, and rightfully so. I mean, I'm putting myself out here on the internet. They're gonna be like, you're full of shit. It's not that great. It's not some magic bullet. And they'd be right, it's not a bullet, it's a shoe. And also, it's not magical. That's not some new formulation of midsole foam that we've never seen before that will make you PR. But it's a bouncy ride. The way the foam compresses and decompresses and the timing of it for my stride launches me forward. It's like a trampoline. I feel like I'm opening up my stride more, and I've got the receipts on all my workouts I ran in this shoe versus all the other shoes. I end up being 5 to 6 seconds a mile faster in this shoe every time in the same conditions. I do a lot of shoe tests. It has the receipts. Now, we can't talk about the midsole without talking about the geometry of the shoe, which we must, because there's been an evolution at Mizuno as they have worked their way towards inclusion 2025. Okay, save space for heel strikers. They're really trying to add in a lot there. Now, if we go back to the roots, we need to understand really quick the history of it. The Wave Rebellion Pro 2 had a different foam. First of all, the Wave Rebellion Pro 3 and the Pro Low have this Mizuno Enerzy XP, which the foam is a little bit more dense than the Enerzy Next that was in the 2. But the 2 worked really well for other reasons because the foam was softer and collapsed, but the firmer foam up front made it a very responsive shoe. So I could run marathon pace up to 5K pace in the shoe. Was one of my shoes of the year last year. I loved the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. Now the 3 put in the XP, and one of the things they did was they moved the drop off of where the heel started a little bit further back in the shoe for the 3, which made it a little more accessible for our heel strikers here. But it is a lot of shoe, and the foam, it's a little bit more dense as well. So I, as a short king at about 150 pounds, felt like I didn't really put enough power down into the shoe to get the energy return. Enter the Pro Low, and we see the geometry of the shoe has now, it still has it set back, the start point of where the drop happens, but it's almost non-existent. The Phantom heel is now an actual heel, and it's slightly there in the sense of Hoka or maybe the Puma Fast Star 3. They say this is for mid or forefoot strikers, but there's still a heel. You can still land heel, you'll be okay. All right, now I want to tell you how I'm using the shoe because it's the Pro Low. You might be thinking, was this like the Flash? Is it for fast stuff? And it's not. That's the kind of stuff I don't use it for, and I'm going to tell you why. The nature of the foam compresses and decompresses in a rhythm such that it works very well for threshold, half marathon, 10K, marathon pace, anything where I'm bounding along. More of a stride, not so much of a cadence. So like the 5K reps, the mile pace, I'm using a lightweight speedy shoe and not this shoe. So I've run in every super shoe just about because I have a shoe problem. It's this channel: Hoka Cielo X1 2.0, Adios Pro 4, Metaspeed Edge Paris. I'm gonna sound like a real so if I can keep going and listen to them all, Alpha Fly 3. I've run in them all, okay? And I've looked at the data, the stats, the numbers do not lie. In this shoe, I am always 3 to 5 seconds faster because I'll run same day, same weather. I'll run 5 miles, swap them out, 5 miles in this one, 3 miles in this shoe, 3 miles in that shoe. Then I compare the numbers. This shoe always wins out. The shoes that it most reminds me of as far as that effortless energy return is the Alpha Fly 1. I said that. The other shoe that it reminds me of, not in any sense of the ride, is the Saucony Endorphin Elite V1. I know I said in my last video someone called it a clog, and I was like, yeah, a clog with PIBA. And that shoe is a little bit firmer, but when I look at the data, the numbers are just there. It's a very efficient shoe, or economical with my stride. And I would say it's the same with this shoe. All right, now let's shoe battle between the Pro Low and the Faster Nitro Elite V3. Oh. I ran the Austin Half in the Pro Low, and it was my intention to run the Boston Marathon in the Pro Low as well. However, when I decided to fly out to Boston, guess what? Saw videos released about the Faster Nitro Elite V3, and the marketing on it was incredible. 3% faster. That was the Puma 3% had to have it. When I went out to Boston, I fully expected them to be sold out. Well, I popped into the Puma store in Boston, and lo and behold, they had this shoe. So I bought it with my wife's permission. And they say, don't try anything new on race day. Sometimes they're idiots. And you can get away with it. And I did not bleed my own blood, which was the only thing that I was hesitant about the Pro Low for the full distance, is that with the toe cap, word of the video, toe cap, I was worried. I was fine after 13 miles, but maybe after 20, 22 miles, hitting the Newton Hills, my big toe would be crammed in there, not feeling so good. So the same issues that other people may have had with the Fast R3, I was worried here, but it's all good. In both shoes, my toes are fine. If I had to pick one, that is the point of this shoe battle, I would pick the Fast R Nitro Elite version 3 due to the lightness late in the race. And thank you to Mizuno for sending me to these for the purpose of review. By the way, Mizuno sent me these shoes. That's how I got my hands on them so early. I definitely am thinking about this shoe for the Houston Marathon in January of 2026. Thanks for watching, guys.